Okay, so you're thinking about a public sector career change and really want your resume to pop for those government jobs.
Right. A lot of people are looking at that kind of move these days.
Yeah, and that's what we're diving into today, using some tips from theperfectresume.com.au.
They've got this article, Crafting Resumes That Secure Meaningful Careers in Public Service. The perfect resume. It's a mouthful, but it's packed with good stuff.
Yeah, we'll link it in the show notes for everyone. But basically, they have this interesting framework for how to tailor a resume specifically for the public sector, which we'll get to.
Right, but before we even jump into resumes, we should probably talk about the public sector itself for a sec.
Yeah.
What makes these jobs different?
Yeah, good point, because it's not all just, bureaucracy and red tape, right?
Exactly. I mean, a lot of learners are drawn to this sector because of things like work-life balance and stability.
Which, let's be honest, is super appealing these days.
Absolutely. And the demand is huge right now, especially in fields like healthcare.
So it does seem like the perfect time to make a move. But as experienced professionals, why your resume is key.
Oh, it's everything. And for the public sector, it's a whole different ballgame.
Okay, so spill the tea. What are we doing differently here?
Well, theperfectresume.com.au really emphasizes that it's not just about listing your past jobs, like you would for a corporate gig.
Right, it's got to be more than that.
It is. It's about showcasing how your experience aligns with public sector values.
Okay, so things like community impact, collaboration, that sort of stuff.
Exactly. You're speaking their language, showing you get what they care about.
So it's almost like a translation exercise, right? Taking your corporate skills and turning them into government speak.
That's a great way to put it, and they use this term a lot, key selection criteria. Have you heard of that?
Vaguely, but honestly, I kind of skimmed over it. Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah, so basically it's not enough to just say you have a skill. You have to prove you meet their specific requirements.
Okay, so it's like showing versus telling.
Exactly. So let's say communication skills is listed as a criterion in the private sector. You might just write strong communicator, right?
Yep, been there, done that.
But for the public sector, you need a concrete example. So something like led a cross-departmental team to streamline communication protocols, resulting in a 15% reduction in project delays.
Whoa, okay, so much more specific, way more impactful.
Right, you're not just claiming the skill, you're quantifying your success.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, they also talk about achievements versus duties, which I always struggle with. It feels kind of boastful to me.
I get that it can feel awkward, but it's all about framing it the right way.
So how do you do that without sounding like you're bragging?
Well, theperfectresume.com.au has this great example. Instead of just saying, managed a team, you'd say, led a team of 10 to implement a new scheduling system, reducing errors by 20%.
Ah, so it's still factual, but emphasizes the positive outcome.
Exactly. You're showcasing the value you brought to the role.
Okay, that's actually really helpful, already shifting how I think about my own resume. Now, what about those dreaded applicant tracking systems, the ATS things? It feels like you're writing for robots.
Unfortunately, that's often the first hurdle you got to jump over.
Yeah, it's like trying to impress a robot bouncer at a nightclub.
And theperfectresume.com.au is really big on ATS optimization. They say you need to use the right keywords.
Meaning those terms that match the job description, right?
Exactly. And you need a clean, structured format so the system can easily process your information.
So no fancy fonts or creative layouts.
Nope, keep it simple and straightforward so the bots don't reject you before a human even sees your resume.
Pass the bots, then impress the humans. Got it. But even if your format's perfect, theperfectresume.com.au also stresses clarity and professionalism in the writing itself.
Oh, absolutely. No jargon, no typos, just clear, concise, impactful language.
It's like you're saying, hey, I get it. You're busy. Here's everything you need to know about me presented in a way that respects your time.
Exactly. And that leads us to their unique approach, which they call the Problem Opportunity Solution Framework.
Okay, so we've got strong writing, targeted content, and now this framework, what's that all about?
Well, what I find really interesting is how they flip the script on the challenge of a competitive job market.
Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the competition, they're saying, hey, your unique skills are what will make you stand out.
Precisely, they identify your challenge, then highlight your specific skills as the opportunity to overcome it, and the resume becomes the solution tailored to showcase those strengths.
I love that it's so empowering. So how does this actually work in practice?
Well, they shared this great success story about a nurse who made the switch from a private clinic to a public hospital using this framework.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this nurse and how they use this problem opportunity solution thing.
Sure, so she wanted more stability and work-life balance, which we talked about, but was worried about competing with nurses who already had public sector experience.
I can relate to that feeling of how can I possibly measure up? I bet a lot of our listeners can too. So how did the perfectresume.com.au help her tackle that challenge?
Well, they really dug into her experiences and realized that her work during the COVID-19 pandemic was a gold mine.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a crazy time for healthcare workers.
It was. And she had led initiatives adapted to constantly changing protocols, all while maintaining excellent patient care.
That's resilience and leadership for sure. And those are qualities that translate really well to the public sector.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of seeing her lack of direct public sector experience as a weakness, they reframed it as an opportunity to highlight her adaptability and crisis management skills.
That's brilliant. Did they actually share details about how they structured her resume?
They did, and it's a great example of how to translate those skills into concrete bullet points. So instead of just saying, like, adapted to changing COVID protocols, her resume highlighted how she developed and implemented a new patient intake process that reduced wait times by 15% during peak pandemic surges.
Oh, wow. That's a great example.
Yeah.
It's not just saying you're adaptable, but proving it with a tangible result.
Exactly, and they made sure to use keywords like crisis management, process improvement, and patient-centered care.
Ah, so those are all things that would probably get picked up by those ATS systems we talked about.
Exactly. It's like hitting two birds with one stone.
I like it so impressing, both the robots and the humans. Did they mention any other strategies they used in her resume?
Yeah. They also highlighted her volunteer work at a community health clinic.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about how volunteer work could strengthen a public sector resume.
It's a great way to show your dedication to public service, even outside of your paid work.
It's like you're saying, look, I don't just do this for a paycheck. This is something I'm passionate about.
Exactly. And they made sure to quantify her achievements there as well.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying she volunteered, her resume stated that she provided health screenings to over 200 underserved community members.
Wow, this is really making me rethink my own resume. It's amazing what a difference a few words can make.
It really is. It's all about being strategic and tailoring your message to your audience.
Speaking of strategy, the perfectresume.com.au mentioned that they actually draw on other reputable sources to inform their approach.
Oh, yeah. They reference some really good stuff.
Like, what kind of sources are we talking about?
Well, for one, they cited the Australian Public Service Commission, the APSC.
Okay, the APSC makes sense. They're like the experts on all things government jobs.
Exactly. And they really emphasized aligning your application with those key selection criteria we talked about earlier.
Right, so it's not just the perfectresume.com.au saying this. It's backed up by the official guidelines.
Exactly. And they also referenced the Queensland government's Smart Jobs and Careers platform.
I've heard good things about Queensland's public sector. They seem to be ahead of the curve.
They are, and their Smart Jobs and Careers platform offers some really insightful tips, especially when it comes to ATS.
Ah, yes, those digital gatekeepers. What did they have to say about navigating those systems?
They were very specific about using the right keywords and formatting your resume in a way that's easy for both humans and algorithms to understand.
So no fancy fonts or complicated layouts.
Nope, just clear, concise information that's easy to scan.
So even if you get past the ATS, a human has to actually want to keep reading.
Exactly. It's like two phases of the same battle.
And a well-organized resume also demonstrates strong communication skills, which are super important in any public sector role.
Right, you're basically showing them that you respect their time and can present information clearly.
And that brings us back to this idea of framing everything in terms of the public good. Even if you're coming from a completely different field, it's about highlighting those transferable skills that show you're ready to make a difference in a new
It's
context.
like a translation exercise.
Right.
Taking your existing skills and experiences and showing how they align with the public sector's values.
This has been so helpful. It's amazing how much we've unpacked from just this one article, but I have to admit there was one thing that struck me as I was reading it.
Oh, what's that?
Well, they didn't really mention anything about volunteer work or community involvement.
That's a great point, and it's something that a lot of people overlook.
I agree. While they focused on paid experience, I think volunteer work can be so valuable, especially for showcasing those public sector values.
Oh, absolutely. Think
Yeah.
about it. Volunteering often requires strong interpersonal skills, teamwork, problem solving, a genuine desire to serve others.
All qualities that are highly sought after in the public sector.
Exactly. It's a way to demonstrate your commitment beyond just your 9 to 5.
So as you're tailoring your resume, think about how you can weave in any relevant volunteer experiences.
It's all about painting that complete picture. Showing them you're not just qualified, but that you genuinely care about contributing to the public good.
This is such great advice. It's about showing that you're not just looking for any job, but a way to make a meaningful impact.
Exactly, and that brings us to you, dear listener. Think about what parts of your experience would really stand out to a government recruiter.
Yeah, we've talked about all these strategies, but now it's about putting it into practice for ourselves.
Right. So have you led teams, maybe managed some complex projects or done any volunteering in your community?
Those are all good things to consider.
They are, even if they seem totally unrelated to government work, those experiences often have the skills that a public sector resume needs.
It's like we've been saying, it's all about reframing what you already have.
Exactly. So think back to those moments where you showed leadership, maybe some problem solving or a commitment to helping others.
And don't forget about those soft skills.
Oh yeah, those are huge. Communication, collaboration, empathy,
Yeah.
all super valuable in public service.
So as you're looking back on your experiences, think about how those soft skills played a role.
And how you can explain the impact they had.
This is where that problem, opportunity, solution framework can really help.
Right, think about challenges you've faced, opportunities you've grabbed, and solutions you've created.
Those are the stories that'll make your resume stand out.
And remember, it's not just about listing what you did, but why it matters.
Yeah.
Especially in the context of public service.
So when you're working on your resume, ask yourself, how does this show that I can contribute to the public good? Let that passion shine through.
Because that's what will connect with a government recruiter.
A resume that's well-written, A&D, shows your passion. That's a powerful combo.
It really is. It shows you're not just looking for any job you want to make a real difference.
And that's the key takeaway from this deep dive.
When you bring your skills and your desire to serve together,
You become a seriously strong candidate.
so keep diving deep and keep learning. Until next time.
We'll see you then.